Not everyone gets to leave when the bell rings. Some stay forever.
When I was around 8 years old, I went to a large private school that comprised of kindergartens all the way up to college. The school is called OLOPSC in Marikina, Philippines. In the part of the building I was studying at, there were 2 washrooms, an upstairs and a downstairs. Students were allowed to go to either, but were recommended to go to the one closest to their classroom. The closest bathroom to me was the lower level, and I hated going because the room depended on natural light from the windows for lighting. It was dim at best, and it really just had a creepy vibe. Not exactly sure when it started, but every time I'd go to piss, I would feel someone watching over my back. I would turn around and would not see anything unusual, but the sensation was there. After about a couple of weeks, the encounters escalated to a point that I could finally see who or what was looking at me in my peripherals. It was a young boy around 5 years old, wearing a white shirt, blue shorts, blank eyes and facial expression, dark lips and dark hair. His skin was a lifeless grey colour. He would stare at me without breaking eye contact. I remember what he looked like very, very vividly. However, when I would turn to face him, he would be gone. This would happen every time I went to the washroom, and I got so scared that I decided I would use the second floor washroom from then on. One day I really had to go piss, but wasn't able to make it to the second floor washroom. I wet my pants embarrassingly, and I was sent home for the day. I told my parents I just couldn't hold it. It was a much easier excuse than having to tell them that a little boy was watching me pee in the first floor washroom. My older brother, 10 years old at the time, who went to the same school, asked me why I had opted to go to the second floor bathroom instead of the one closest to my classroom. This time, I decided to tell my brother the real reason, expecting him to tell me it's all in my head or it's just my imagination. But boy was I wrong. When I told him it was because every time I went to the first floor washroom I felt like someone was watching me, my brother replied with, "Is it a boy?" and proceeds to describe exactly how the boy looks, down to the way it stared at him. I was completely freaked out when he shared his identical experiences with the ghost. I'm 19 now, and to this day I have absolutely no explanation for all this. I still have vivid memories of the boy's image, and have never felt the same eerie feeling from being stared at by that boy. If anyone has had similar experiences, please share. Thank you. When I was 18 years old, me and my brother worked on a maintenance team during the summer at a Catholic school. On several occasions, there were some creepy noises and feelings, but one situation in particular occurred that stands out. Most people never believe me, but it happened. It's the only thing that has ever happened to me that I cannot explain. So here is what happened. We were waxing the hallways of the school. It takes about 4 hours for the wax to harden enough to walk on. One day my boss wasn't there. It was just me and my brother. When it came time to wax, we came up with a plan to give us an easy day of work. We put signs on both ends of the halls that said, "Do not walk, wet wax." We both started waxing on each end and met in the middle, waxing ourselves into the room. We knew we couldn't leave for 4 hours, and nobody could get to us either. The perfect opportunity to slack off. We're sitting there just hanging out when somebody tries to get in the door, which was locked. It was clearly somebody attempting to get in. My first reaction was, "Oh shit, I'm going to get in trouble." My next reaction was, "Damn, whoever came up here messed up my wax." We wait a few minutes and open the door. Nobody's there. And what scared the shit out of me no footprints. It was not possible for anyone to get to us without leaving footmarks in the wax. I believe a ghost was messing with us for slacking off on work time. I remember when I was a kid that every school was built over cemetery cliché, but my elementary school actually was built over one. Ever since I was a little girl, I was heavily interested in the paranormal, and I always thought my school had something weird going on. And for some reason, I was invested on proving to myself that I was right. In 4th grade, my experiments began. I purposely stayed later in my classroom, hoping something would happen. I was always alone for like 10 minutes every day in the classroom, and waited for like 5 minutes in silence to hear something. I was slowly getting frustrated and decided to drop my experiments. One day it happened. I was alone in my classroom putting some things away in my locker space as quickly as possible so I could join my friends in the patio. My classroom was at the end of the hallway on the 2nd floor, so I was hurrying to catch up. I could hear the muffled voices of the other kids outside. In one instant, it was like a crowd of people talking out loud just hit me in the ears. I couldn't understand a bit of what they were saying, but it was loud. Louder than a bunch of kids playing outside. I grabbed my backpack and ran outside. When I was just by the stairs, I closed my backpack and walked to meet my friends. I was freaked out but didn't say anything to anyone. I didn't want a bunch of other kids to stay late in the classroom with me, and if someone told the teacher, they would think I was doing it for attention. Some weeks passed and I wasn't staying late anymore because I didn't want to hear those voices again. One day I thought it'd be interesting to leave a piece of paper with a message for the ghosts hidden behind my books. I made sure nobody was there and that nobody could see it at plain sight. And sure enough, I received answers written in the paper. There were simple sentences and yes or no questions. Since my mum was a teacher at my school, I was the first kid to arrive at the classroom, so before anyone else would come, I would open my message and see the answer. Eventually, I stopped doing that because it felt wrong, and I could tell the ghosts were getting a bit annoyed. It wasn't much, but it was enough that made me believe in ghosts and made me think I was as awesome as those ghost hunters on TV. Before reading, I must add a trigger warning. This story will mention suicide, so if that's something that's triggering or makes you uncomfortable, feel free to skip to the next story. There are timestamps in the description below. For a bit of backstory, me and my dad's side of the family have always been attuned with spirits and the paranormal. It's affected my grandmother, aunts, uncle, most of my cousins, and of course my dad and I. Spirits are drawn towards us because it's easier for us to see them and be positively or negatively affected by their presence. My earliest spiritual memory is when I was a kid seeing and speaking to spirits. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I've seen many full body apparitions in my life, but this experience was by far the most surreal. I was a freshman in high school when this encounter took place. On this day, I got to school much earlier than usual. I got there about 30 minutes before classes started. So I hung out by my locker for a bit. The student population was fairly small, so the entrance to our school was a narrow, double-door entryway. During the start of a school day, students and faculty were usually squished together like a can of sardines while trying to enter the building. Anyways, my first class was near the front entrance, and my locker was on the opposite end of the school. While walking to class, I had to push against the flow of people entering the building, all while getting slammed with backpacks and glared at by annoyed upperclassmen. But suddenly, I got a very uneasy feeling. Walking with the crowd of incoming students was my school's art teacher. He was fairly popular with the students. He had recently graduated from college, so it was easy to relate to him. Typically, people would chat with him wherever he went, but today, no one was acknowledging him. It was at that moment we locked eyes. He looked startled when I saw him, and his reaction totally caught me off guard. Visually, he looked normal, but in my mind, I saw a dark aura hovering over his head. A sharp chill rushed down my spine that was so intense, it was practically painful. I felt weirdly drawn to his energy, and it scared me. Like, a lot. I physically had to struggle to break our gaze, and when I did, I practically ran to my classroom. After our first period, it wasn't long before the entire school had erupted into chaos. Our art teacher, the one I had seen earlier in the hallway, had never shown up to class. This sparked out of control rumors, and some of his dedicated pupils had started to panic and cry. A couple of girls were crying in my second period, so I avidly assured them that I had seen him that morning. It made them calm down and feel a bit better, so I promised all my friends and classmates that I had seen him just a little while earlier. But at lunchtime, the news finally broke. The night before, our teacher committed suicide. Students were crying and the school fell silent. But I had seen him. I was confused and frustrated, so I was begging my friends, teachers, and even strangers to listen to me when I said he was okay. People became furious with me. I was accused of making up lies for attention and was shunned by a lot of close friends. I was an insecure 14-year-old, so getting attention was the last thing I wanted, and I had no reason to lie. However, I would soon find out I wasn't the only one who had seen him. During lunch, as I was rambling on and on about seeing him, 3 upperclassmen approached me. They all began to collaborate my story. Yeah, I saw him by the school entryway. So did I. Me too. Something was off, but I'm certain that it was him. Did no one else see him? And so on. Not only had we all seen him, it was at the same time in the same location, and we all had the same reaction to his presence. I would always hear these stories in my school about some ghost girl. I never took the stories seriously, and there were so many stories about encounters, which was so creepy. I remember hearing some girls saw a creepy girl in a white dress in my school's parking lot weeping. Another of a cold wind hitting a girl and hearing some loud screams. I would listen to this gossip during class and never thought about it. I just dismissed these as rumors. This happened around 2017. I was aware of the stories, but I didn't really believe in it. My high school was literally a block away from where I live, and some friends invited me to go play some basketball at my school. We went routinely and played every Thursday and Friday until 7 p.m. We would play on some basketball courts just outside the gym. It wasn't until daylight savings when we decided to stay longer and mess around at my school. We would walk around the cafeteria or sit on some benches in some classrooms. No big deal. We were just hanging out. But we would see weird stuff like flickering lights and felt like we were being watched. We made the assumption that it's probably just the custodians. It wasn't until I brought up the ghost girl that me and my friends jokingly said we were going to look for the ghost girl. I got my phone out to see if I could record something. My friend told me about a filter on TikTok called Reality Ripple, which many people say can record ghosts, but I didn't use it because I was a skeptic. As I said, I dismissed him. Then I heard a girl say hi. It freaked me out, especially since it came from the cafeteria. I ran out and I was really afraid to go back. I got these unwelcome vibes and decided to take a break from basketball. I returned again with my friends to go play some basketball. I completely dismissed my experience and just went to have fun. When it got dark, we took a break and began exploring around the school, laughing and just gossiping. we went by the outdoor cafeteria tables, and we were looking for leftover food in the trash bin. Don't ask why. And I started hearing the wind whistle. I ignored it because of the nearby airport. We kept digging for trash, and we went to the school's auditorium. That's when my friend noticed the whistling too. "You guys hear that?" he says. We all got quiet, and those whistles soon turned into bone-chilling weeping. We all ran out of the auditorium, and were all spooked. I have it recorded too, but the audio isn't too good. One night I got up from bed to use the restroom, and I could hear the weeping from outside my apartment. I kept going back, despite me getting scared, but I did stop exploring my high school at night. During summer school, the second floor of my school was going through construction. Me and my friend ran up the stairs, and in the corner of our eyes, we saw someone standing in the dark hallway. A dark silhouette was in front of us, and we awkwardly ran back. We kept talking about the second floor ghost and had our laughs. Didn't take it too seriously. It wasn't until last year, 2019, that we decided to go to my school and relax. It was around 6 or 7 p.m. We were exiting the school, and I kept making jokes about my friend's crush. That was when I felt a gust of wind hit me, and it felt like it wrapped around me and pulled me back. I soon heard someone yell in my ear, "Hey!" and I screamed like a girl and ran out. I turned and saw no one near me but my clueless friend. I was trembling, and I didn't want to go back to my school again during the night. This experience still haunts me, especially because my high school is still a block away, and I heard similar encounters as mine as well. There were so many other stories, such as teachers and staff talking about their experiences. I stayed quiet most of the time, but I do want to visit my school again and talk to some of my old teachers and staff to see if I can get any similar stories, but I haven't had the time to do so. If you listened this far, thanks for listening, and I'm glad I was able to share these experiences. Hello watchers and listeners, thank you so much for watching. If you liked that video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already. A huge thank you to all the Reddit users who allowed me to use their stories. A link to each story will be in the description below. If you have a story you'd like to share on my channel, please send it to my email, which is also in the description below. As always, thank you all so much for your continued support. I really do appreciate it. And remember,
Papa loves you.